on the Fox Chat. Any topics of discussion during the broadcasted show is in no way the exclusive view nor opinion of the host or any web radio network staff. You're listening to the Fox Paranormal Chat on the W.E.B.B Radio Network. And now, Michael and Destiny Fox.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. I'm sharing our show on our pages here. How's everybody doing tonight?
Very good. Can't complain. Oh, yeah.
Good, good. You doing good, Andy? It's good to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
We always get off a slow start.
Yeah. Oh, it's not too bad. I think, we're ready to talk to paranormal tonight with Andy and, get some insight on what he feels about different parts of the paranormal field.
Oh, absolutely. Michael has been so excited about this podcast tonight.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't wait for this. It's going to be good. This is going to be good. We haven't seen you live and in person since Virginia.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's been a while back.
Yeah. that was back in. I actually just talked to Jennifer the other day. We're actually going to get
to her in a while. I'll have to reach out to her.
Yeah, it's where Selma Mansion is a pretty decent place up in Jersey. Well, it's outside Philly. I'm sorry, and she's renting it for the weekend, so she's invited me to come check it out with her and about 5 of us.
Exciting.
It's one of those. Wait to go to Gettysburg.
Gettysburg.
That's one of those million places that George Washington slept at. He slept around everywhere, didn't he? That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So how long have you been in the paranormal, Andy?
Actually, we were just figuring that out last night. 37 years.
Wow.
I was 14 years old when I did my first investigation, and I'll be 52 next week.
Cool. What got you into the paranormal?
So I grew up in Virginia, actually in Strasburg, where they had the Paracon. That's where I grew up at. And my grandparents gave my parents property for a wedding gift right beside them. And so as I got older, doing a history check on things, actually I don't know if you guys got to check out Cedar Creek Battlefield when you were there, but
is that the one across the street from the motel?
Well, that was part of it. That was actually on its way. The one across from the hotel, that's Hupp's Hill, but that was part of the skirmishes that led to the next little town where the I guess you could say where they all met at. And so actually behind my house, wooded lot back there, was the ammunition dump for the Confederacy. And so my bedroom was on the south side of the house facing my grandparents, about a 75-yard field, I guess, between us. And I would wake up. My grandfather worked like a weird shift, so he'd come home at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and they would cut on this big floodlight so he could see to come in. And when I was about 3 years old, I started seeing people, just sometimes it was half figures. Sometimes it was, and me automatically thinking, I didn't think ghosts. I thought, we've got robbers or crooks or something like that. So I'd wake up the parents, and after probably 3 or 4 times doing that, I think they finally got tired of it. And anyway, what it ended up at, by the time I was 5 years old, they had me talking to a shrink, and actually took and I remember taking a brain scan, which was, I still remember that. That was wild. But, obviously, well, they probably found nothing either way. But anyway, but finally, my grandmother stepped up and she said, she is gifted, but she's not sure exactly, what she has. Hi, Stacy.
Hey, Stacy.
But my grandmother will have, I guess you could say, dreams, visions, and it's horrible because she has them about people dying. And usually within a few months, those people, something, I mean, she's even to the point of knowing how and everything else. And so she said, well, maybe he's got something, maybe I've passed down something. And it has been. But the biggest thing is after my grandmother talked to my parents, my mom actually got into looking to see, well, maybe he's telling the truth then. So from that point on, I always had an interest in it. Did Bigfoot for a while with my dad, stuff like that as a young teen. But we used to camp at a camping resort, and I met a guy, Carl Lawhead, when we were 14 years old, and he lived in a house in Fredericksburg that was right on the battlefield. So he had been experiencing kind of same thing, So we decided, somebody told us about a haunted house that was down the railroad tracks. That sounds like a movie in the making. So I had one of them. We bought a recorder, and it was one of them old tape recorders that you had to push play and record at the same time.
Oh, yeah. I remember those.
With it. Yeah. And so here we are, 14 years old. We're headed down the tracks at like 2:00 in the morning, snuck out of our tents. And we put them in there and let it play, kind of did our own thing, walked on down the tracks a little more, and we came back. And we went to flip the tape over, and he said, well, let's listen. And then you could hear us leaving the house. It was an old house. It didn't even have a front door on it. But then within 10 minutes, you could hear people talking, like conversation, but couldn't tell what they were saying, but it definitely was conversation. So that really piqued my interest. And then I ended up getting to see Ed and Lorraine Warren speak at a college down there in Fredericksburg when I was 16. And that really, once I seen all the nice little gadgets and microphones they had, I was like, yeah, I want to do this, And so the rest is history outside of, working with the church and stuff, once I was saved or resaved, I guess you could say, when I was 22, they worked a lot in that side of the field and felt a calling in that as well. So kind of a mix of both, and that's where we're at now.
Yeah, we have a mixture. Michael and I attend church, and matter of fact, the church we attend is shown on the episode that we're on of Repossessed.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had people like, oh, I'm not coming to that church. People try to classify us as devil worshipers, or, they don't understand how we can be in this field and still have our faith at the same time. So,
yeah, I go through that a lot, but I work with actually Mike Ross. If you've ever seen the, oh crap, now I don't forgot the name of it. Ghost Town Terror, that's on.
mm-hmm. Yes.
Now the guy at the end of the first season, the priest, that's the guy that's on my team.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Okay.
Ross. Used to be sanctioned with the St. Michael's Order, but for that reason, one of the reasons was how they looked at paranormal, and he didn't quite agree with them. He would agree more the way we see it. And so got with his decease and got to break away from the St. Michael's Order, which is just, St. Michael's Order, you got to be accepted into it, but also you have to go ask them to accept you into it. So it's not like you're stuck in it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was other things that contributed, but once he got out of that, he felt more that, he was more open to be able to do better work for people. And I kind of, me and a couple other guys, we were the investigators, and then we back him up if we need to bring him in. But yeah, I got the same thing. I was lucky to be at a church that was really non-denominational and charismatic, I guess you could say. And they were the ones that started introducing me actually to people.
Mm-hmm.
So they were accepted, but man, some of them out there, yeah, I don't want to say what denominations, but yeah, some of them really look down on us,
Oh yeah, definitely do. I mean, I was actually kicked out of a certain denomination years ago because they found out I was a paranormal investigator.
Oh boy.
And the pastor asked me to leave the church.
Yeah, it does.
We have us too.
Yeah, we had it happen. I had it twice to me, once with you.
Yeah.
We were both.
I would have never thought it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
But we're non-denominational, and
Mhm.
actually our whole team is members or attends our church. Jessica attends when she can. Jessica lives quite a distance from us.
Right.
2.5 hours away, Jessica.
In bad traffic, maybe more, but on a good day, 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got
she's
to
got quite a drive.
But yeah, that's what we are. We're non-denominational. And the guys that, I moved to Pennsylvania now, but I still go down there. But Mike's church, he is now my parents, I grew up in the St. Paul's Lutheran Church. Anyway, but Mike is a St. Paul's Lutheran Free Will Church. And I didn't know that was a difference, but Mike, he studied at he was actually at the Vatican to be a monk, and ended up that he ended up disagreeing with them on a couple things, so he had to go a different route. And so he ended up taking all the courses that they give there for exorcisms and stuff like that. And so he is what they consider Anglican.
So I have to ask the question though.
Sure.
When he left, did he staple a list of 99 things they were doing wrong, or did he just walk away?
No, he's told me about 100 different lists of
I'm sure.
But yeah,
just how the Lutheran Church was founded was somebody didn't agree. It was what Martin Luther didn't agree with the Catholic Church and split off and founded that church.
Yep.
Because he saw a lot of things that were just not being done the way he believed that they were to be done biblically. So it's really interesting.
I read his thesis. I've read Martin Luther's thesis on why he left the Catholic Church. And his biggest argument was he wanted the Bible translated into English because, at that point in time, it was all in Greek and Latin. So the the priests were the only ones that would interpret the Bible to the congregation.
So how do they know what the priests were telling them were true then?
They had to take it, on faith.
Blind faith.
This is so crazy because Mike, I went to church Sunday, and it'd been a couple of weeks since I work a lot of Sundays, but he was having this very conversation with a couple of the members of the church. And he said, they would yell out the Latin and stuff like that. And people exactly had to just take it that, whatever they were saying was truth, and he was talking about that. But he had what had happened, the biggest deal why he left the monastery was they were trying to say after Mary had a vaginal birth of Jesus that she still was a virgin. And Mike's like, how's that happen? Obviously, she was she was seeded by a miracle, but he's asking that, and they just they didn't give him an answer, and they said, you either agree or disagree. And he's like, well, I'm not trying to disagree, but is it something, that God did? And they were like, no. And he's like, how do you, so it was left at that. They pretty much gave him an opportunity to take off. And there was some other stuff too, but that was the biggest one. He was like, he just couldn't agree with that. And
No.
so, but he has his, maybe I'll talk to him. You guys can have him on one night. He'll give you a good rundown of what,
that'd be pretty cool to do, since I've read the thesis, and Martin Luther, he covered a lot of that very subject in his thesis.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mr. Jackson.
That would be interesting.
And a lot of people have said hello to Andy.
Yes, seen Stacy, Dave, Whitney.
Yeah. It's good to have everybody watching. A lot of people don't know this. Michael and I went to school with you. We took classes together.
Yeah, we did.
That's how we met you.
That's awesome. Been around each other that long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about Jeremy's class. So.
Oh, I got it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I knew well.
We went to school together. We took classes together. So,
but yeah,
that was, demonologist part of Andy. Tell us about that part of your life.
Well,
specialist.
Yeah, when it started, like I said, the church that I joined, really what happened was one night they had a special guest, and I heard him say that he can tell when there's demonic or demons on someone. And I'm like, I got to go see this, and I had an interest in it, but nothing big at that point. And so he's kind of walking around. It almost reminded me of like a gallery reading that a psychic does. But he would lean down and just talk to some people in their ear and stuff, and they would, freak out or, hug him or something like that. But he got back to when I was in the row I was sitting in, and I'm like, oh, please don't, and he walks over to me and he says, I need to speak to you afterwards. And I was like, okay. So I thought maybe I had something really bad on me, that he was going to take me away from the whole, congregation and do something to me, and it ended up, he said, do you feel drawn to this type or this part of the paranormal field? And I was like, how does he even know? So I asked my pastor, and he's like, no, Andy, I've never told him that. And I said, well, yeah, I'm a paranormal investigator. And I said, we've run into things, and we talked about my faith and stuff like that and everything. And he invited me to come to a couple classes that he had. And that's how it got started. So did that, mentored kind of behind, Mike Ross. And then Jeremy had, his class, and that was one of many that I've taken. But I really liked his because it gave a different view than, the church is more trying to teach you how to handle it and what you need to do. And Jeremy's was really good on showing, what to look for, what could be, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't have as much part of that, but it's a calling. I mean, you guys, I'm sure, know that it's a calling. And, I step out in faith every time that I do have to deal with stuff like that. And, and that just, I've seen some pretty, hurt people, I guess I could say, out there. And, to know that once you help them out, and, I just feel that that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I had many demons myself, when I was younger and stuff that, if it wasn't for God, I'd still be probably mixed up with alcohol and everything else. And, so, I can relate to some of these people, because those open doors, I mean, they have to, that's what some things people don't understand. You have to invite them in, I mean, you may not know that you're doing it, but there's got to be an open door somewhere for stuff to happen. And that's where Mike had an issue with the way the Catholic side of things looked, is that if somebody's getting tormented by something like that, the last thing they want to do is go through 10 weeks of courses, what I'm saying? Trying to find out, well, this is the door, and they got to fix that before they can do something, exercise them, I guess you could say. No, you should try to get them into a position where they actually got a little peace and then work on that part. Yeah, because, and like I said, learning from Mike and then also Jeremy. I mean, and Jeremy learned from Bill Freeman, who was a very close friend of mine. And Bill, actually, Selma Mansion I was talking about a while ago backstage is that's the that was his baby. And he's come through a couple times up there with people investigating already. But that's how I got into it. I just felt like it was my calling, and that guy kind of backed it up, and there you have it.
Right. And it with us, it was like when we took the course, it was right at the right time, because right after that, we really had to take the knowledge that we had learned from that and put it to use. Matter of fact, I'm writing a book about it.
Nice.
My first exorcism and how it led on and led up to a whole lot more that I don't want to get into. I want to put it in the book. I want everybody to read it.
Right.
But yeah, it was life-changing for us. And had we not taken that course at the time that we did, then we wouldn't have been able to handle a particular case that came at us not long after that.
Yeah, I completely understand that.
Yeah, it's one thing to take the class, but then to realize, okay, I'm in a position right now, I've got to remember everything.
Yeah.
Let's see, what was that now? And I mean, we had to just put it together, and we didn't have time to think about it. It's just something we had to do in a hurry.
Yeah, and it seemed like after we took the class, we started getting calls with people claiming to have demonic problems. It's like,
and some did.
And some did. Yeah, some did. But it's like somebody just flipped a switch after we took that class, because we started getting calls right and left.
And Stacy says you are called to do this work.
Yep.
Not
she
a doubt
knows.
in my mind.
Yeah, Stacy and I do a lot of work together, so she's a good friend. And matter of fact, yesterday I had to slow her down a little bit on a roll with we don't know what this fascination is with demonic and the paranormal anymore, where everything's a demon. But
no, I know.
Yes. In the area where we live, we're considered Bible Belt. And when we first started our paranormal team here, people were saying, people don't talk about that around here. The majority of people in our area, they go to church. They don't accept that. They don't accept the paranormal. Well, we started the team anyway. And our first 10 cases that we did here local, they were like, this is just things we're not supposed to talk about. But, we've got something going on, and, we really need y'all to check it out. And from there, it just zoomed. I mean, now it's like, and I'm not patting us on the back, but I think it's because we stepped out there and let our area know, hey, it's okay. If something's going on, it's okay to seek help. It's okay to talk about it. Where a lot of people think, oh, we just never talk about this.
Up here where I live, they're really reluctant to talk about it too. Like, I'll have people reach out to me sometimes and start asking me questions. And when I ask them, do you want somebody to come out and investigate? They just ghost me. Like, they go completely radio silent.
Yeah. Now we do work with clients that we never go to their house, because the area that they live, the upscale neighborhoods. But I do talk to a lot of people almost on a daily basis, trying to talk them through their paranormal issues, problems that they're having. And, knowing full well we'll never do an investigation there, because, neighbors ask questions. Well, what was that car doing at your house? So on and so forth. So I do work with people, even though we don't go out and do an investigation. I do talk to them quite often.
Yeah, and there's been some kind of I don't know why people that think that if they are avid churchgoers and and have a good faith base, that they can't have something attack them. And I've ran into that a couple times, it's like, and they won't talk about it because they're thinking they're doing something in their life that is causing, God to be mad at them or something. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
Legitimate spiritual warfare.
Yeah, you have something. We are probably, it's probably totally opposite. We're probably more targets than the average person, or somebody that's not of faith is probably less of a target than we are. Yeah.
Right. We're the danger. We're the threat.
But that's good that you guys did that. I mean, every area needs something like that. I've noticed, I mean, outside of the, I call them armchair investigators, but outside of the, the ones that sit and binge watch for a week, all of a sudden they can investigate, do a little bit more damage than what's needed. And then people such as us that's been through, and I'm not talking like patting myself on the back, but when I started, man, exactly that. We didn't talk about, we're a private paranormal investigator. You just didn't say it because people would look at you. I remember when Ed and Lorraine Warren talked at the college, I went, and there was people actually picketing outside, about them coming in there to speak and stuff like that. And it's like, so I remember the days of being really frowned on, like you guys said, looked as satanic and all kinds of stuff like that. And now it's funny because some of them have called my team to come help out, and I would never hold anything like that, but it's like, so yeah, that's good you guys did that because it sounds like nobody was even in the area down there to help out.
Right.
Yeah. There were a couple of teams over, a couple of counties over, but at the time they weren't active. And there's still some Facebook pages of some teams that were here local, but they're not active anymore. Charles said, a friend of ours, Charles Jackson, he says he's fascinated by that, but I'm sure he's talking about the demonic part of what we were discussing, but he also has mixed feelings about it. Do you have any questions, Charles? I mean, Andy would be glad to answer them. And then he says that he will say to myself and Michael that we were the first ones he had ever talked about it with and helped him understand more about the subject. And I found a new family. Love y'all. And which is a story with a lot of our clients. They end up being some of our best friends ever. We try to hook that bond with our clients. That they trust us, they know us, and it's just a family thing from then on out.
And that helps out. I mean, usually what happens with us, Mike and I, he has a creed of kind of, he wants the bond, but he wants that after the work is done. So that way they know they have somebody to come back to and there to talk to, because sometimes that can interfere. If you get a really good relationship with somebody and you get, you already care for them because they're just a human being. So, I mean, that starts out with it, but, he kind of stays distant, and I'm usually the one that starts the bond and finds out about their family. And, some reason they feel comfortable talking to me, I guess, because I'm not wearing, the priest thing. I mean, Mike's
the collar.
Mike's a really good guy, but, and he'd crack you up, man. He's hilarious. Nothing like you would think usually a priest would be. I mean, he'll cut up jokes with you and say some things that, is hilarious to come out of somebody that's wearing the cloth, you know what I'm saying? But, but
they're human like everybody else.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. And I think they're more genuine than the ones that try to beat you down with, you're sinful. Well, we're all sinful. So, it's kind of funny because Mike wants to take me over to the Vatican and take a class. And he's like, well, you couldn't wear this shirt. You couldn't do this, and it's like, and I wouldn't wear something nasty or any, well, he's saying more like paranormal stuff, they wouldn't be too big if I had my ghosty, pullover on or my Bigfoot hat on or something like that. But, but we were just talking about how no wonder people don't feel comfortable going into a church and saying, I'm having issues, And that's where people like us, thank God we're here to, kind of get people at least comfortable, with them. And,
But you go into the wrong church and you're not received well.
Right.
I had a client that had been trying to find a church to help them, and they visited something like 6 or 7 church, and none of them was willing to talk to them about the issue. They told them that they needed to pray, that it was a problem with them.
Exactly.
And that's not a solution.
Go ahead. I thought you were done. Go ahead. Finish.
Just telling these people to pray is not a solution. Like, they're vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that we look to as our religious leaders that should be someone we should go to when our faith is shook turns us away. That's not okay.
Yeah. That's my problem with a lot of organized religion.
Yeah, Charles says, as far as with demons, I know they exist, and my mixed feelings are with the fact that I have the fear of being attacked by them or possessed by them. I'm sure Andy will agree, and then I'll let him talk to you more about this. They can only do what you allow them to do to you. What would you say to Charles on this? His fear of, he knows they exist, but he has a fear of being attacked or possessed by them.
I think that having a little bit of fear like that is not a bad thing. And what I mean by that is to always, I wouldn't say walk around paranoid, but, sometimes you need to check your faith, and you can pray every day to, for protection and stuff like that. But they do have to be invited in. There's things, with me, even still today, that I'll walk around, a nice looking woman will walk by, and I'll catch myself going to turn, and I'm like, nope, you know what I'm saying? Just because little thing, but we're all going to do something, we're not. And, that can be an open door if my thoughts get stuck in that, frame of mind for a while. That can be an open door, but that's where shadow work comes in with people, working on yourself and saying, okay, yeah, I know I got an issue with this, and would this be, something that maybe God would, I don't want to say look down on you on, because that's not true, but, something that maybe you're doing that wouldn't, that may upset him, as in make him saddened, I guess you could say. Alcohol, with a problem with alcohol or any kind of drug or something like that. And that's what I try to tell people, always be prepared, and it becomes a daily, it just becomes part of your routine to pray and stuff like that for protection.
Mm-hmm.
It comes as just like waking up and, eating a piece of toast, and I would say, a little fear is not bad, but I would not let it, I wouldn't let it control you, because that's in itself not a good thing. The fear. And that's what gets me upset out here sometimes with people that I go on some of these Facebook pages, and they're wanting to chat about, showing a picture of something. I just had one the other day where a woman had gotten a picture. It looked like it was a ghost. It was definitely something like that, but it looked like a little kid. They had the table was the chair was pushed up under the kitchen table, and it looked like a little kid squatted looking through the back of the hi Pammy, looking through the back of the chair. And they had the history that there was a fire at the house, that 2 kids died from smoke, inhalation. And, we're all talking about it and this and that. And all of a sudden this woman just pops on, and she's like, pack your bags, get your kids ready, get out of there. It's a demon. You know what I'm saying? And she distilled that fear, boom, right at the get-go. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that's one thing that Mike has in his arsenal, is he has a woman that came aboard with us, or anything that he does outside of me when it comes to working with people. And she is she's a counselor. So PTSD is a huge thing, man, when it comes to paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
And when people go through, you guys know, when people go through something, it takes a long time for them to try to be logical about what you just heard, or saw or something like that. And so that's a big deal, is after people go through something pretty crazy like that, you know, you got to get them a little bit of help to make sure that you get their frame of mind out of that, you know, that it's something coming back, or, you know, something that they need to be scared of. But fear, like I said, a little bit of fear, not bad, as long as if that fear gets you to pray for protection, that's a good thing. But you can't live in fear of something, you know. I don't know. Does he investigate? Does Charles investigate?
He wasn't actually a client of ours. We used to do a live stream on Facebook from our Fox Paranormal page.
I remember
and he popped on, and I don't know, he would talk to us, we would talk back. And so finally one night, we had him come over and meet us at our house. I think maybe it was a live stream, I don't remember. But I mean, he's been like a brother to me ever since. Good God. I mean, just another family member we met through the paranormal. And we look at him like family. He is family.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of how Michael and Destiny are. They find people and turn them into family. It's like every stranger becomes family. That's how I ended up.
It's kind of the same here. Yeah. That's but yeah, that's, and you know, that's a good thing, because sometimes people just need that, you know. And but the biggest thing is I was gonna say, if he does ever go out to investigate, make sure, you know, that he's ready for it, I guess is the easiest way to say it, you know. Because
he did one investigation with us, and actually it I don't know, I just said, you want to go? And he went, and come to find out, the knowledge that he had about the history of the place we were investigating opened up, you know, the door to us finding out what was haunting the place. And it worked out good. We had one pretty crazy paranormal experience while he was there with us. We were behind the building in an alleyway, and I walked off, and I thought Charles had said, well, I said, I'm going to go down here to the end of the alley for a few minutes. And I thought Charles said, okay, be careful. And then it's like I turn around and I say, okay, I will. And then Michael's like, who are you talking to? I said, Charles. He just told me to be careful. Charles didn't say anything. Did you, Charles? And he said, I didn't say anything, Destiny. That wasn't me. So that was his first paranormal experience.
Right.
That I know of. He might have had something before then, but I know for a fact that was crazy. And we even got it on the recorder. So it actually happened, but it wasn't Charles.
Yeah, I tell you what,
he may go with us again sometime.
Yeah,
Who knows?
yeah. And I mean, and I just read his last thing where he's talking about worried, you know, concern for other people, and that's a good thing. You know what I'm saying? That's people that you pray for. Some people, if they're not, you know, they're not open to praying for themselves, you know, throw them some protection out there. Like you guys, when I had that one case, you said you were going to pray for me, which never came to nothing. That was more of I think they thought they were going to get on television. You know?
Yeah.
We've had those clients.
Yeah, we've had those clients.
Oh, I wonder if it was the same client.
What camera?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Well, I showed up there, and I mean, I even asked Jeremy. I sent him they found this statue or something. I don't know if I sent that to you all or not, but they found this thing in the, you know, and we finally found out that was actually a South American protection thing. Like what we look at as Mother Mary, it was something that they had down there. It was a saint. And but they had melted it, and it looked like the Grim Reaper. You know what I'm saying? I was looking at it, and I'm like, you know, even Jeremy's like, I have no idea what that is, you know. And so I get there, and they're showing it to me, and you know, a couple of us were there, and it started from the get-go about, well, do you guys put your stuff on YouTube? And you know, and I'm like, well, you know, when we're doing a private case, not really, you know. And well, we don't care. We'll sign anything if you want to put us on there. And then they started talking about networks and all this. And so I was trying to get, like, the first 20 minutes was them talking about wanting to be on social media or television. And they had a daughter who was in that age, of like 14, 15. And she's like, walks through the living room and she says, nothing happens here. They just want to be famous. And I was like, one of those that doesn't care about what she's, and I was like, I ignored it. Like, oh yeah, it's a teenager, but ends didn't meet when they were trying to tell us, I mean, I guess some people that lived prior there to them were South Americans, and they put it out in the barn, I think, to for protection of the animals or something like that, or even to prosper for eggs. And I've read a whole spill on it that they used it and they would put them in their gardens down there in South America, for a better harvest and stuff like that. So it was nothing bad at all about. And it was Christian based, but it was just a saint that they believe in down there, I guess. And so I told him, I was like, well, even with it being, melted like that, I would still put it out there because it sounded as if there was anything going on, that it was something that had followed them from place to place. It wasn't just that place they were at. And I think it was their fascination with paranormal, if that makes sense. I think they were actually making their own, they were putting so much energy and thought and everything into wanting something to be a ghost or something that literally they were getting poltergeist stuff happening, stuff like that, stuff moving. And, I told him, I said, I think I would take a little break from, watching things, or not take it so literally. I mean, because it's like, and she didn't like that. She was like, they really wanted. So we entertained them and put up, we came in and did about a 5-hour investigation at night. And literally they left. I mean, we invited them, hey, if you want to stay, but they went to the Moose or something like that for a dance, and a couple different things here and there, like a cat ball went off and stuff, but you don't know if that's vibration from, and but they come walking back in the house like 4 hours later, and literally REM pod, other things just started going off as soon as they come in. And I'm like, whatever, if there's something paranormal going on, because if nobody was getting scratched or nothing like that, they told me that at the get-go. And then she's like, no, I misspoke on that. And so there wasn't nothing pointing. I even had Mike there. Nothing ever pointed really, to much of anything. So, I bless the house regardless and stuff like that. And talk about Jeremy. I use his now. So I'll carry that around in my bag of goodies, man. I've printed it off and I read that. And like I said, like you all said, man, I had to use it right after we were out of class. And I was fumbling one night. We were somewhere trying to find it quickly and put the pages together. I had them all out of whack. And, but I learned a lot with him when it came to that, and, but yeah, we run into a lot of things that usually are not as paranormal as people want it to be and want it to be. There's the big name or the big word. Hollywood's really made it something that we all know that most of the time it's sitting in the dark trying to keep awake. Yeah, a lot of times, but I don't think they understand.
Found that when they want it to be, that's a big red flag to me that might be a potentially problem client.
Yes.
Wow. Now don't tell me you've had one of those.
Wonder if it was the same one.
I think it was. Boy, we had one.
Maybe
I hope it wasn't the same one, but if it was, I'm sorry for you.
Oh, it
maybe
doesn't matter.
Up and down the coast.
It brought you into our lives, so we're good.
Yes, it did. And see, that was an unexpected
into that hell.
They say the Lord works in mysterious ways, and that's got to be the most mysterious thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah, definitely tried my religion.
That's like, well, I was talking to Jason Halls I guess the New Jersey Paracon. Him and I actually had a chance. We hadn't seen each other in a while. And he was talking, we were talking about TV, and, you know, he's getting a little bit irritated that, you know, the network used to sit hand in hand with him, and they would both agree on what to show. You got 6 hours of footage that you got to cram into 35, 40 minutes, you know, and they literally went on I can't remember if it was in Virginia. It was down my old way, but people were saying things were knocking on the walls and stuff like that. It always happened at, you know, such and such time. And sure enough, he said, you know, he's sitting in the stairwell and they're setting up some cameras. And all of a sudden, you know, right at that point in time, man, bang, 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 you know, on the wall right next to him. So he's, you know, jumps up, goes into ghost mode, you know. And so as they're walking around, they're hearing this knocking here and there. It was doing it without them asking, and then it would do it really. He said the timing was just off. And he gets up into this area in the house, and there's a door, but it's locked. And he kept asking him, you know, what's in here? I mean, you can't just investigate, you know, I'm going to understand if it's somebody's personal, you know, space or something. But if you're talking about you're scared to, you know, you need to check everything out.
Mm-hmm.
And the more he kept pushing, finally I guess the wife opened the door up for him, and they found a system set up where literally this thing was set on a timer, and it would push these things up against the wall. Bam. Like knockers. And, you know, so obviously, you know, even if there was something going on, you might as well leave after that, because you can't believe anything. But
no, it's contaminated.
But that was the thing. These people would set it up to make it look like they were having paranormal occurrences and stuff happening. And you know, getting them to come in was, I'm sure, a plus. But finally the guy sat down with Jason and admitted, you know, financially we're not at the best, and we thought if our house was haunted that we could you know, bring people in and pay to investigate. And it's like, man, you do not want it, because one, you might mess around now and play it and try to make it, but you start bringing in teams that's been into a lot of different places, and you might just say you don't want, you know.
And you don't know what they're going to do while they're there, you know, what their practices are, and they may bring something else in. And
exactly.
Yeah, that wouldn't be cool.
Not
like,
all bad.
You know,
it's like me. I cleanse my equipment after we get done, like where everybody's standing around at the end and they're all, you know, telling everything that you can't go home with us. And some people are saging and stuff like that. And, you know, but I'll get over and pray over my equipment and stuff like that and sage it sometimes and stuff. And people look at me, you know, and they're like, why? And I'm like, it was right there beside me. And the whole time we were in the place. So why do you think? I mean, I think that that's probably got more of a chance of carrying something back out than I do, because they're communicating through some of that, you know.
Right.
And
yeah, that makes sense.
I can tell you, Mike.
Well, we're about to start.
So I got a question for you guys. So when you have a little bit of disruption, or you're having, have you ever noticed that right a week or two, maybe even a little bit further out, before you get an actual case that could be demonic or that there's some button heads between you guys and other team members and stuff like that?
Well, between Michael and I, I have seen a pattern. Sometimes just talking to a client, it's like the energy changes, you know, and I think it's because it affects me worse than it does Michael, because I'm so stinking empathic. And whatever their claims are, we start having that going on in our home a couple of days before the investigation. But yeah, I get a little bitchy.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, Mike and I started noticing that. And it's like, we're not like tearing each other's throat out, but we get like you said, bitchy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
irritated.
And he'll remember, Mike will say, well, he said, maybe we ought to really pray down a little harder on this one, because that's what we're seeing is this pattern of, butting heads over the littlest of things, like what route we're going to take to get there and stuff like that, and it's like,
yeah.
But yeah, before we leave, you'll see us out in the parking lot, man. We're blessing the cars and throwing holy water on them and everything else, because Mike actually bought a new car one time, and we had a case outside of Baltimore, Maryland, that was ended up being pretty bad. And he drove down. This thing didn't have, but like, it was less than 10,000 miles. And on the way back, man, the motor just locked up, done. The dealership's like, we have no idea. We cannot give you a reason why I did this. So Mike's like, well, I forgot to pray over it. And
yep.
Michael and I actually got in an argument on the way to an investigation. We had a back seat full of team members, and it was all because we were about to cross the road to go onto the property. And it's like, he yelled at me, I yelled back. It was kind of like, and the team's used to this stuff. They were like, here we go again. So, and that case actually turned out to be a doozy that night. And it does affect you.
Oh, yeah.
It really, really does. So you do a ghost tour, don't you? In Gettysburg?
Yeah. So Ghost City Tours in Gettysburg, actually it's Tim, the owner, he has 26 other locations that they do. Everything from, actually he's in Savannah. He's in New Orleans as our corporate. Does one in St. Augustine, and then, all the hot spots like, over by the Alamo, San Diego, up in the Salem. And, but he grew up in Gettysburg area. And it's kind of funny because he didn't believe in paranormal, but he's a historical nut. I mean, he is just, man, I could sit and listen to him all the time talk about history when it comes to actually to Gettysburg too. And little things like you know the basic, but like, oh, this kid lived in this house and this is what happened. And, and it's like, wow. So we didn't know each other, kind of did, kind of didn't. But, I was looking, I moved up to PA so I could be closer. Well, Pam, that was just the one here. They're friends of mine. Her and her husband were ones that do the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash and help out with that, volunteer. But they also have a haunted bed and breakfast. And so I was always up here hanging out and doing stuff. And so anyway, I ended up seeing this job pop up, and I'm like, ooh, that would be kind of cool. And come to find out, I knew him a little bit. But like I said, he was coming into Gettysburg all the time when he was younger. And he had some guys took him out to the wheat field. And, he's like, yeah, big skeptic, the ghosts and stuff. And all I know is he told me that trip saved changed his life. And he had a paranormal experience that changed his life. I mean, so he really mixes the history and then with the paranormal occurrences, because he feels that one can't be there without, paranormal can't exist if you don't have some kind of history behind the place. And but it's, we're right on, if Gettysburg, they have the square in Gettysburg, which is the circle there. That's kind of the high end of Gettysburg. Got all kinds of historical places. The place right beside me still has bullet holes in the front mortar and brick from the battle of Gettysburg.
Wow.
And they have a lot of experiences in that place, people that stay there. And so I've become really good friends with the owners. And yeah, they used the place for like a morgue, I guess, the first day after battle, because they fought right through the town. And so they buried or stocked bodies in the basement of this place, or cellar, I guess you could say. And I still have not gotten to go and investigate yet, but we're working something out. Find a time that they don't have somebody staying there. But yeah, the ghost tours, it's Ghost City Tours. I manage it. Got some really charismatic guides that tell the stories and dress in character, and it's pretty cool to see that. But then we have a storefront with shirts, and I've brought in like paranormal equipment and stuff like that. And I have people there all the time for events, talking. A lot of teams come in. I try to network like guys like you all, people that all of us that aren't like mainstream up in the face of everybody. I try to get because the paranormal field's been so good to me, and I've met so many awesome people. And so I try to network. There's people out there that aren't on Netflix or something like that are probably even better than some of those. And so I love bringing in the small town or the areas teams and letting them set up and show what they've gotten and talk to people. And and that's networking. I mean, that's the way it is. I mean, and yeah, I have some of the bigger guys that I know, Daryl Marston and stuff like that. He comes in, I carry his book, and but it's a place, even though it's called a tour company, it's really a learning facility too, because you wouldn't believe all the people that come. I could stay there and my job, and I could stay there 7 days a week and just talk to people for the knowledge that they have, and stuff that they do. And Gettysburg has called me since I was a kid. There's always been some kind of tie-in with Gettysburg, and I've never really put my foot on it or hand on it. But some people, oh, you're reincarnated from something, and I don't know how much I believe in that. I've never really researched it, so I can't put my own thoughts into that without looking into it. But I'm just drawn there. But some of the paranormal occurrences that happen there are just unbelievable. I've had a couple already that I had to like slap myself, like there's no way, all these years we've been out investigating, and it's that easy to walk out front of my store at nighttime. And I watched this guy walk, me and another one of the guides had just gotten done with the tour. It's like 10:30 at night. And we were already closed, but I had went over, had dinner next door and stuff. And her and I were talking, and we watched this guy dressed in complete Union uniform. And the people in Gettysburg, they take a lot of pride when they're reenactors to get as authentic as they can. And we were like, man, check him out, because he had everything from the boots to the shoulder straps to everything. And like I said, it's a big circle. It's a roundabout, right? On the square that the four highways that come into Gettysburg. And this guy's walking, not on the sidewalk, but he's walking down the side of the road, like where cars would be parked at. And he kept walking without stopping, and right through the middle of the of the square. And I'm like, well, maybe he's going to go change. There's a flag there, And so I look at her, and she's looking at me, and she was like, maybe he's drunk or something. I mean, you never know, because there's a couple pubs there. And we both laughed, looked back up, and I said, well, maybe I ought to yell at him, make sure he's okay. And he was gone. And then this guy next door that was staying at the inn was outside smoking, and he's like dropped his cigar right out of his mouth. And I was like, so you're seeing what we just seen? He said, yeah. And that was crazy, just, I mean, I literally ran to the center of the, cross traffic. Well, it wasn't much traffic, but I ran right there. I was like, there's no way, man, that just happened, And little things like we get gnats that we had gnats bad, like outside the store around the 4th of July and stuff like that. And they're like, oh yeah, it's always this time of year, obviously not to be nasty, but all the bodies that were there drew gnats that time of year, battle was 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of July. Well, between that and Lord knows when, obviously they probably had more than just gnats, but everybody's like, yeah, it's really funny or really crazy because they show up on the 4th or 5th of July and then they're gone after a couple weeks, August. And sure enough, that's what happened. And it's like that, I mean, obviously them landing on you and nipping at you is not paranormal, but it's just crazy how they just show up that time of year. And, but yeah, Gettysburg is it's a must see. It's definitely a high energy. You can feel it. Yeah, Destiny,
Yeah,
you would.
I can't wait to get there.
Yeah, I can't wait to go
That's
to Gettysburg, get
that's
bashed.
been on my bucket list for
Yeah.
a long time.
Make sure to keep in touch with me because I can probably hook you up with some good deals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we'll definitely be in touch with you when we go there.
The guys next door, man, the inn, I mean, they, might be able to do something. I mean, depending on what you want to get out of it. I mean, obviously summertime, the place is, I don't know how you like crowds or you like seeing the local life, but, summertime, it's always just packed and people walking up down the street in dress and stuff. But then you run into trying to go to a couple places to actually investigate at night. And, the yahoos are out there, what I'm saying, yelling and everything else. But, early spring and fall is really a good time it's not as much traffic, I guess is easy to say. But this year it didn't get cold until Remembrance Day in November. And that's pretty crazy because they get anywhere from 5,000 to 6,000 reenactors, stuff like that. And they do a march down the street and people dress up in clothes, but that day I'm about to freeze my face off. So I wouldn't recommend that one.
Hey, Kobe, how are you doing? Kobe's at work. He's one of our team members. I guess we've adopted Kobe. He looks like he's changed his last name to Fox and the whole 9 yards. It's been good to have you on the show.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, we only have an hour show, but I wish we could go longer. But it's been good, and I can't wait to see you in July at Gettysburg. There's a lot of people there I want to meet. It's going to be fun. Even if we don't get to investigate, it's going to be fun just being there and feeling the energy of the place. I know it's going to be amazing. And I hope a lot of team members get to attend with us.
I'm real curious how much of the museum they're going to bring from the Warrens.
Oh, that's
that's
later on.
That's. I mean, if they do it the same as they did you guys go to any of them that they had prior?
Yes,
we went to the last one.
We went to Connecticut last year and did the Seekers of the Paranormal.
Yeah, so I guess that I have a feeling that it'll probably be about the same. That's what I'm hearing. So
I can't wait for that one either. That was good. That was a good Paracon. Yeah. We enjoyed it. Also, we do an annual Paracon here in the South. It's in Alabama. It's called Deep South Paracomic-Con.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
And I said that right. Yes, it's a good event. Our producer and his wife, Stan and Teresa Fikes, put this on every year. This is the 3rd year. And we're proud to be a part of that again this year. You should check in coming down.
I may do that.
It's a big event. It seems like every year it gets bigger.
Good. That's what it's supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah.
And
let me know. I'll definitely.
Hey,
it'd be fun. But
it'd be fun. Be fun to see you again.
Yes.
Absolutely. Same.
Yeah.
Same. But
all right. If people wanted to look you up just on your Facebook page or
you can look up Vapor, all capital letters, VAPOR. That's same as on TikTok or Virginia Vapor, I believe is still what it is on TikTok. Or Andy Andrews, you can hit me up on my personal page. I mean, I have little chat rooms that we do off of that. So definitely, and we do travel if needed. And, I kind of in a good center position now. I'm Pennsylvania, Maryland, West Virginia. Virginia is all within an hour from me, tops. And so that's how you can look me up, is just that. And I believe Miss Stacy that I did the podcast last night with has asked me to possibly start co-hosting some. So we'll have you guys on ours.
Oh, that would be fascinating.
So,
yeah, we're going to check into having Stacy on ours. We're booked up. So Stan was asking us to, let me know a couple of weeks in advance who you got and what's going on. So I filled up about a month and a half and sent him the schedule.
I understand that.
So,
And
but we want to have her on sometime too. And we hope to have you back.
Anytime, let me know.
Okay, awesome. If you want to get in touch with Fox Paranormal, we are on Facebook, Fox Paranormal. We also run Fox Paranormal advertising page on Facebook. It's a little group where teams can share their podcasts, live streams, whatever you like, as long as it's paranormal. We've been having some problems with people trying to share porn stuff, but those things just don't happen there. We do have to approve all posts, and sometimes if anybody wants to post anything and it looks like your event's about to happen and we still haven't approved your post, send me a message on Facebook, because I have a full-time job and it's hard for me to work social media a lot anymore. Also, we're on TikTok, and we are probably 130 away from having 1,000 followers. So we're
I'm trying to get there too.
Really, really hard. I mean, just a couple of months ago, we were at 250 something. We were like that for months, almost a year.
Look up you all. I don't even know if I'm one.
Oh yes, get us that much closer. Yeah, it's at Fox Paranormal 22, Michael and Destiny Fox. So help us get that 1,000, because we look forward to being able to live stream from TikTok as well.
Who's left on here? Dave, you heard that, buddy. You got to look him up.
Look us up. Look us up.
That's the only one I see left on here that I know everybody else has been busy. So Whitney, he'll do it too. But definitely we'll share that up here.
They post it up so people can watch it late. Sometimes I go back and listen to it and try to work on my Southern accent. Try to make it not sound so obvious that I
haven't lost mine yet up here. You ought to hear them. You think they really go get on you when you come up here?
Well, I went to college in Ohio, and I've been to Pennsylvania. My boyfriend's dad had a farm in Pennsylvania, so we would go on the weekends. And so, I remember talking about my pocketbook, and they're like, "What's a pocketbook?" And I said, your pocketbook. You put it on your arm. It's your pocketbook. And they said, "No, dear, that's a purse."
Yeah, the main street up here that, Baltimore Street, but they have a bunch of shops on Steinware. That's how you're supposed to say it, but I give it that wire at the end of it.
Yeah.
Boy, if I don't hear about that every time I say it.
I do podcasts, and I see a lot of people comment, "Well, don't she just make you want a glass of sweet tea?" And I'm like, oh my God. So I've got this little joke when we're going to a Paracon or somewhere. I'll go, "Yep, I'm getting ready to say, hey, I'm Destiny Fox and I'm from Georgia."
That's something I learned up here. When you order sweet tea, it's not. Some places it's sweet, but when you say, "Yeah, could I have a sweet tea?" they bring you a tea. You have to sweeten it yourself.
Yes, I remember that from living.
And I learned that real quick after chugging down about 2 big gulps the first time. So.
Yeah, I used to make it, and people would say, "You already put sugar in it? You put sweetener in it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, while it was nice and hot."
I wish
it melts.
Yeah. Well, it's been good to have you on this.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
We love and appreciate you. And
keep back at you.
I watch you on Facebook. You're going places. You're doing good things. I'm proud of you.
Trying to be positive. Same. And yep, that's what it's all about. Networking and backing up good people, supporting them.
Absolutely. Friends for life. Guarantee you. Jessica, we love you.
Love y'all too.
Miss you.
I actually made it through an episode.
You
Yes.
did.
Yes.
I'm impressed.
And my internet didn't have any
Get off
episodes.
their phones and
I'm waiting for an upgrade and I'm praying it's quick.
I am too. Okay, guys, we love y'all.
Love you
Peace
too.
and love. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
watching the Paranormal Chat.
Jessica, nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too.